QualityForge is ready for its next speaker, so please join me in welcoming Ondřej Pohl, who is the Accessibility Director at ACTUM Digital. Ondřej tries to create the digital space accessible for everyone and believes that accessibility is vital, as it bridges the gap between diverse users and the digital world, ensuring that no one is left behind. Ondřej will talk about what are the expectations and what is the reality when it comes to creating an accessible website. I believe that Ondřej has already joined us.
He has. Hello there, Ondřej.
Welcome, Ondřej.
Hi, hello everyone, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. Without further ado, you can take it away.
Great, thank you. So, hello everyone again, and great to be in here. And today I want to talk a little bit about how to create an accessible website with the subheadline expectations versus reality. I will try, to give you as much more information as I can, and on the end we can, have some questions. So everything which I will be talking today is inspired by real experience with organizations like Academy of Sciences in Czech Republic, Czech banks, and Czech government. So it's not theory; it's real stuff. And our main focus today will be on the three main pillars of accessibility, which are design, development, and content. So let me start with, before we will jump into those three pillars, with the process and what happens in the planning phase, most of the times where you are trying to create an accessible solution, whether it's a website or an application. So it's a planning. It's a really important part of the whole process where the accessibility should be already part of. So let me show you a few expectations versus reality, what happens. So one of the expectation in planning phase, what we talk with clients, is that accessible equals fulfilling legal requirements, like, to be in conformance with EN 309, 549, or WCAG, or whatever it is, right? But the reality is that you need to go above and beyond legislation to have really and truly accessible and usable solution. So only complying with laws and standards is not enough if you really want to have a truly accessible solution. So that's one expectation. The other one is that making something accessible is simple and cheap, or can be done automatically. Another expectation that I hear a lot of times, but the reality is that making something accessible often requires significant effort, time, resources, and cannot be fully automated. And last but not least, so we will move to the next phase, which is I want to show you a few common issues that happens in those three mentioned phases, like design, development, and content. So let's start with the design phase. So one common issue that happens is low contrast input outline. We will be focusing in all those three examples at the moment on forms and inputs. So let me show you what I mean by the low contrast input outline. A lot of designers do that. I don't know why, but they design the outline inputs really with low contrast. A lot of times in like gray, something like that. So what I'm showing right now is the non-impaired side. But I hear the sound from the stage. Okay. So what I'm showing right now is a view of a non-impaired side user. So right now you can already. Sorry, I hear voices from background. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So what I'm showing right now is a non-impaired side view. So even for some of you, you are not maybe able to see the outlines of the inputs. And when we switch the view as a simulation to some user, for example, who has slow vision, or you are in direct sunlight with your device that's shining into your display, you maybe in some situation will be not able to see the outlines around the inputs. So that is really vital, because then the user will be confused and don't know what they should do, if this is a text or if it's an input. So this is why it's important to have enough contrast with the outlines of an input. So let me jump quickly to the next example, and it's a placeholder as the only input label, which is a common issue. So let me again show you the thing that right now we have the same form, and this is a view after you already fill in the information, right? And in this case, if you imagine yourself, you want to go through it again and to be sure that you fill the right information, at the moment, it could be for some users really hard to discern what kind of input it is and what information they fill in, so you be able to really tell if you fill the right information. And only thing you can do is to delete those information in the input to be able to clearly see the input label, which is the placeholder. So this is again another common issue that creates a lot of issues and barriers and not good user experience. So let's jump into the last example from the design phase, and it's an insufficient proximity. What I mean by that is, in this case, the label is in a galaxy far, far away. Sorry for the reference for a Star Wars fan. And so let me show you that. Some users use magnification. For example, if there are low vision users, they need to magnify the content to be able to clearly see it and read the text and so on. So right now I'm showing a simulation of 4x magnification, and we can see a portion of an input, probably, but no label around at the moment. So if I zoom it out to 2x magnification, we can right now see most of the 2 inputs, but again, no label around. So still as a user, I don't know what should I fill in into those inputs. If I zoom it out to 1.5 magnification, we can start seeing some kind of text emerging in there. And if I zoom it out to the default magnification, right now we can see those 3 labels, first name, last name, and social security number, which are really far away from the inputs itself. And so what does it mean for a user that uses a magnification or another form of zoom? They will need to travel from the label to the input a really long distance, and sometimes they can mistaken and jump to another input. If they will be checking if they fill the right information, they can make mistakes, and it could be really frustrating. So another common issue that happens, that the labels are really far away from the inputs in cell itself. So the next phase that I want to show you common issues from is from the development phase. So in this case, we will be showing that on the mobile navigation on the hamburger menu. Most all of those examples will be covering that. So the first one is visually hidden interactive elements are focusable. So let me demonstrate what I mean by that. Imagine that we have this kind of display. So we have a display menu navigation with hamburger and with text, which is interactive. And then we have also an image, which is underneath, which is some kind of banner that is also interactive for this case. So let me clarify what I want to show you right now is a user that is sighted, so they can see. And then they use, for example, a keyboard to navigate through the device. Right? It doesn't matter if it's a mobile phone or a desktop, because they can zoom in and also have this kind of responsive behavior. So what is happening for users that are sighted and use the keyboard or another assistive technology like keyboard? They use key tab and shift tab to move on all of those interactive elements. So what should happen and what will be their expectation is they will focus the menu. So they will be on that interactive element, and then they will jump to the next element, which is the image. But what happens in this case is I will hit tab as a simulation, and we are focusing right now the menu. That's great. And when I hit tab again, I should move to that image. But what happens? The focus is gone. And as a user, I don't know where am I at the moment. And if I hit enter, what will happen, right? I will hit tab again, and still focus is nowhere around. I will hit tab again, and still no focus is visible, so I do not know which interactive element right now I'm focusing. And for the 4th time, I'm get to the interactive image as I described. And what happened in here is so-called lost focus. And what happened is that in the menu, there are 3 items which are links to another pages, but they are hidden visually, but they are available for a keyboard or another assistive technology, so they are not restricted, and they should be, right? So this is one of the common issues that happens. Another common issue is missing information about expanded and collapsed state of some interactive elements. So again, let me show you that on the same example. So what should happen when the user focuses the menu navigation? It should, I forget one thing is that in this case, the user is using screen reader software, which is assistive technology. So for some users that are, for example, blind, or there are also other users that use this screen reader, they use that software and focusing the stuff and going through the elements on the website, and the screen reader reads that aloud, so they can hear where they are and what they can do and read the content. So in this case, when they focus the menu navigation, they should hear, for example, something like a button menu collapsed, because the menu is expandable. So they need to know they can do what interaction they can do, right? And if they open the menu, it should tell them expanded. And it's done by ARIA expanded attribute. And if it's not there, they will not know what happened after the interaction with the menu. And again, this is one of the common issues that happens not only for menu navigation, but also, for example, for FAQs or any other component that expands and collapses. Another example from the development phase is overkilling accessible names with titles and area. So again, let me show you that on the same example. I already told you what is the ideal. So the ideal is that user will hear menu, button, menu collapse. But in this case, and a lot of time that happens that people overkill accessibility because they want to be sure that, yeah, this is really accessible, let me put everything in there. And so they put an alternative text alternative inside the SVG element, like the hamburger menu icon. So they will put their title menu. They also put on the button ARIA label menu, which is one of the forms of accessible names. And then you have the visible menu text, which is a paragraph or could be span or whatever. So in this case, when the user will focus the menu navigation, they will hear for the free time menu, 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 which is not a barrier, but it's really distracting and not good user experience. And it happens a lot of times. So let me move to the last common issues from the content phase. So the first one, and for me at least it's fun one, is so-called karaoke style captions. Let me show you what I mean by that if you not catch my drift. So karaoke captions visually distract users and could be overwhelming. I'm sure that most of you already seen this kind of style of captions on videos, especially on social media. And some people see them as cool. For some people, maybe it will benefit, but for a lot of users, it's some kind of barrier. Let me elaborate on that. As some users read slower, some users read faster, even the captions. So really forcing them to read with this in some pace is not good. Also, for users with some kind of cognitive issues like ADHD or other ones, it could be really distracting, and they will be not able to focus on what they are reading. And also in a lot of cases, like in this one, it's lowering the contrast of the text on the background, so the text is much worse to read. So I don't know who came with that. I see it most of the time, something like with the ripped jeans or the holes in jeans. Somebody came with that and it was total viral and everybody wanted those kind of jeans. Maybe it was with this. Somebody came with this that put karaoke caption styles into the video and now everybody do that. But it's unfortunate. It's not really accessible. So I do not recommend to use that. And this is one of the common issues that happens with the content phase in videos. And another example is missing or empty text alternative. So again, the same situation as I already were describing with screen readers. So some users use screen reader to access the content and it's read aloud to them. And this is the simulation of the screen reader. It's a portion of the website. Maybe some of you already have an idea which portion of the website it is. But the screen reader will read image, 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 solution heading level 3, digital strategy link, AI and data link, cybersecurity link, and then follow us, heading level 3, and image link, image link, image link. So if you imagine the user, if they hear image, they will not get any information what the image is about and what kind of information it brings to them. With image link, they will know that this graphic element is also interactive, but still they will not know what it will do and where it will lead them to, right? So let me switch that to visual experience. And right now it's a portion of the footer and the 4 images on top where all those different kind of payment methods that you can use on an e-commerce website. And under the follow us, there were links to social media for LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you will not describe, non-interact, like images, graphics, icons, and stuff like that, the users using screen reader will not know what kind of information you are want to give them. So that's really important. So we are getting to close of my presentation, and the last thing that I want to show you guys is a practice evolution of one specific example and how it changed in time if the team have different kind of experience with accessibility. I will be showing that on 4 different kind of examples. So the first one will be if the team does not have any kind of knowledge about accessibility and trying to do something accessible. The second one will be after some kind of training or webinar, or they read some information about accessibility, so they have some limited knowledge. Another example will be with providing feedback from an accessibility expert, but with non-specific information. What I mean by that is like, this is not accessible to, for example, blind users and stuff like that. So no specifics. And the last one will be with providing a really specific feedback, like also giving them information how they should change code or design exactly to make it accessible. So let's jump into it. And the example will be with a card. And what I mean by card is you can imagine it as, for example, preview of an article on a website. So you have an image, you have a headline, you have some kind of paragraph text, and some kind of link or link look like text that looks like a link or a button. So this is what I mean by a card. It also could be a preview of a product on e-commerce. It could be whatever it's needed to be. So let me show you the first one as I was already describing. So how the situation will look like before the training. So the team doesn't have any accessibility knowledge and they want to make it accessible. So a lot of times happens that they will put there an alternative text on the image, which in this case is really describing what's on the image. So glasses on open book. The headline is a paragraph. The paragraph text is in code, also a paragraph. And the underline read more text is also a paragraph. And the whole thing is nested inside a link. So it will make all the portions of the card interactive, so the user can click and interact with any portion of that image. So I will be showing that on 3 examples, what is the impact, right? So for the pointer user, which means user that uses mouse or touchpad or something like that, the situation is really good because they can interact with the whole image, so they can click, with the whole card, they can click on the image, the headline, the link, and they will get where they need, right? So for a keyboard user, in this case, they will focus the whole card, which again is good because the user will know where they are getting into and where, if they interact with it, where they will go. But for a screen reader user, it's not good because it will read everything. It doesn't mean it's a barrier. It's like technically accessible, but the user will need to hear the alternative text, all the text in here, and on the end, they will know that it's a link and they can go somewhere. So it's not ideal. Another example is after the training, so they have some kind of little knowledge how this situation will change. So right now, the image has alternative text, which is European accessibility tag is near here, which is the same as the headline. But also it has a title with the same name. And the image is a link. Then the headline is a paragraph and also a link. The paragraph text is still a paragraph, no change in that. And the underlying text is a link, and also the link have an area label that will tell you when you focus that element, read read more about European Accessibility Act is nearly here, which is important because if the link would be only read more, the user will not know without the context read more about what. So this is why the ARIA label is in there. So again, let's look at this on the same point. So for the pointer user, it's again good because they can interact with the image, they can interact with the headline, and they can interact with the link, which is the three most common places they will interact if they want to go to the detail. The image, so for the keyboard user, the image, the headline, and the links are focusable, which is not good because the user will need to hit 3 times tab, to get, for example, to the next card. So they need to do much more interactions, and all those links link to the same place, which is unnecessary. So this is not really not good user experience. And same applies for a screen reader user because they will hear the link 4 times, on the image 2 times. Then we have the headline and then the link. So they will hear 4 times if they go through it, where they can go. And again, they will need to do a lot of interactions to get to another card. So not good user experience. So let's move to the another example, which is after non-specific feedback. As I already mentioned, you will tell, hey, it's not accessible for a blind user or for screen reader user, and that's everything, right? So the image is right now with empty alt, which means it will be ignored by screen reader because it's decorative, so that's good. The headline right now is heading level 3. The paragraph text is still a paragraph, and the read more is still a link with ARIA label. So let me show you how it's changed right now. So for the pointer user at the moment, in that setup, only thing they can interact with is the underlined text, the link, which is not ideal because they will also try to interact with the image or with the headline or with other portions of the card. So it's a really small portion which is interactive. That's not ideal. So for the keyboard user, it's okay-ish because they will see like the focus, but maybe for users that have tunnel vision or a really high magnification, it will be also problematic. So as I said, it's okay-ish. And for the screen users, it's totally okay because they will hear the link 1 time and they will know where they're going into. So that's the situation. And last but not least, after providing a specific feedback to the team or the people who are developing, designing the solution, is how it should look like is the image have, again, empty alternative text, which will be ignored by a screen reader. The headline is heading level 3 and also a link. The paragraph text is the paragraph text is still paragraph, and the underlined text is again a paragraph. And the whole card is made interactive with pseudo content after and position relative. And so the outcome is that the whole card is interactive, ideally, except could be a text, or you can do it for whatever it's needed. So the user can copy and paste it, because otherwise, if you use the position relative and the after, you cannot copy the text from it. So sometimes it could be useful. So that's one example. So that's okay and that's good. So for the keyboard user, the only focusable thing is the heading. So again, that's really good because they will clearly see where they are going if they interact. And for the screen reader user, again, it's also great because they will hear only the heading 1 time where the link links. So that's the most ideal approach, for example, to card, and how the process change if you provide different kind of feedback or a different kind of knowledge about accessibility. What is important is that all those 4 mentioned variants, I'm getting back to the start of my presentation, is that they are more or less conformant with the EU standard, and they are technically accessible, but there are a lot of different kind of usability. So one is much more usable and the other one is less. So that's it. So thank you very much. And I'm here to hear the questions.
Thank you, Ondřej.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for the presentation.
It was very in-depth, very useful. I like the use of practical examples and really helping to explain the difference between what someone might go into accessibly thinking what it is, and then the reality and the real expectations of what it's really like.
Actually, the thing that stuck with me was with the karaoke captions. I had noticed that they annoy me, but actually it's related to accessibility. It's not just me. Yeah. Okay, we have some questions prepared for you. And I will start with the first one. what is your initial goal? Like, what was your initial goal when you went into accessibility?
Yeah, so like my initial goal, like how I get to accessibility, you mean?
Yeah, like accessibility in general.
Yeah, so it was really like coincidence for me to get into like accessibility. I one time read about it and then I fall in love with that. But with accessibility overall, what is my goal is really to make great user experiences because my background is in user experience. And on the start, I was thinking, yeah, I'm really helping users, which partially I was, right? But most of the times I was trying to help clients to, not, I don't say force, but really to motivate users to do what they want, right? So I was really wanted always in my whole life to help people. And I found accessibility. And for me, this is really the true help to a user because I do not care what the digital solution is about, if they're, doing good stuff or bad stuff, because every user should have an opportunity and option to, scroll through any digital solution, buy there anything, what they want, whatever it is, but they should have at least the option to do it. So for me, like the accessibility is like the overall overall top for me how to help people in the digital world. So
And shortly, maybe you could answer if becoming the accessibility director was your end goal, or was it something that just happened by accident?
I think most of the times it happened by accident, and hopefully it's not the finish line. Hopefully there is more for me in my life, regarding accessibility. So we'll see what it will lead me to, but it was not a plan. It was a process that happens most of
With
the
all
time.
your experience, do you have any advice on how to keep a calm mind when you realize that the reality does not meet your expectations when creating an accessible website? And do you have any tips?
That's a really good question, and it's really hard. A lot of times, it's really hard to, be mentally stable in the field of accessibility because, first of all, most of the digital solutions in the world are inaccessible. So that's one thing, and to see the slow process into the future, like it's not going as fast as it should be with regarding to making things accessible. A lot of times you hear from clients or for people like rejection, hey, we do not want to do it, we do not have money for it. A lot of times they are even like vulgar to you and saying like, we do not care about people with disabilities and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's really hard psychologically, to say like, should I still do it? Because if I hear so much rejections from people and I really try to help people and, so a lot of times it's really hard. And my tips for it, how to stay calm in mind is, find some hobby, and try to, get your mind off your work. And what I do every day when I leave work, I leave everything from work in work. So I'm focusing on my family, on my kids, on my hobbies, and I do not care about work. I do not read emails after my work time, because they will wait to the next morning. So really, I'm trying, to not thinking about work without in my free time, and that really helps me a lot. And also, it's really great to have some kind of vacation, at least for a few weeks, to really, get new energy and get back to it.
I think that's a healthy advice.
Yes, no, maintaining work-life balance is definitely key there.
Yeah. Josh, I believe that we have a question from the audience as well.
We do. The question we have is, what is the proper way to handle placeholders? When we add labels above input fields, is it still helpful to use placeholders? Using both will result in repeating the same text by a screen reader.
Yes, that's a great question. For me, if I should say like one sentence is do not use placeholders at all. In most cases, maybe there will be some exceptions. But if you want to, for example, provide a user with some kind of guide, how the format of the information in it should look like, use, for example, and and hint that you can put like an icon with question mark or with I that you can put beside a label, and user can interact with that and read what should be the format, because the placeholder itself, it's problematic even for screen reader users, at least for some of them, because sometimes they think that the information is already filled in. So if you have, for example, John at doe.com, then sometimes they think that it's already filled information in, and they will need to delete it before they will start filling in. So it's confusing. So placeholders are never great, but the most important thing is do not use placeholder as the only form of the label input. That's the most important part.
Okay, I
That
believe
was a
that.
very good answer.
Yeah, very valuable. So, thank you, Ondřej, for joining us today.
Yeah,
It was a
that's all
pleasure.
It was a pleasure to have you here. That's the end of our questions. You've been very informative, very thorough, and there is a lot of really great takeaways that I think our audience got from you today. So thank you so much for being part of QualityForge today.
Thank you very much, and looking forward for the next sessions.
Thank
Bye.
you.